Awaken Radio is brought to you by our listeners. Those of you who enjoy our wide range of topics and our wide range of listenership. We really do cover the globe with thought and geographic location. Thank you so much for taking part, for coming over and joining us in our chat room, and for clicking that donate button while you're there. We appreciate your contributions. They are what has helped us to grow and will help us to grow even more. While you're at our website, please visit our Awaken store. Take part in our forum conversations. Check out all of the pages at awakenradio.net. Get to know us. You'll like us. We're really a friendly bunch. Thank you for helping make Awaken Radio awesome.
Welcome. You're now tuned in to your unfolding senses on Awaken Radio, a show about opening to your intuitive senses. I'm your host, Rob Magazine, and I'm on the air every Thursday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. This show is brought to you by intuition.net, where I offer tips and techniques to help you explore your intuition. Please enjoy the show and invite your friends to join us here as well. Let's get started. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. We're live. It's June 20th, 2013. Welcome to your Unfolding Senses. I'm Rob Ragazine, your host, explorer, blogger, author, intuitive, numerologist, and a bunch of other things. Your Unfolding Senses is about opening to your inner wisdom. We're all intuitive, but many of us just haven't found a way to listen and hear the messages that are already coming in, even at a basic level. On this show, we talk about the tools, technology, and techniques for letting go of stress, centering, and connecting inward, and learning to truly listen. Of course, with a focus on helping you to find the tools and technologies that will work for you. It may be that you've already known about many of these tools for a long time, but just haven't found a way to use them. And just like the global world is constantly learning new things, they've probably been underutilized, untaught, or simply fallen out of use. But now, researchers are able to tap into our universe like never before and are uncovering the benefits of many of these techniques. And when new research comes to light, I'll talk about it here. Feel free to call in and ask questions or comment on the tools that work for you, intuition, dreams, or body language, which we're discussing tonight. You can join us in the chat room at awakenradio.net, clicking on the live chat tab, or adding Awakened Radio to Skype, or dialing 334-649-7204. Now, this show does not replace medical advice, so work with your doctor and other healthcare practitioners with any health issues that might come up as you work with some of these tools. As you may already know, your Unfolding Senses is about connecting to your intuition, your life, and your heart. Essentially listening to your inner guidance, no matter your age, background, ideology. It's making room in your life for your inner voice to shine through. Think of your intuition as a giant broadcast station. You can tune and connect to whatever you need or want to, and are you tuned in to those channels that are inspiring and uplifting, helping you to connect inward and step towards the life of your dreams. Now, we're a listener-supported station, so if you're so inclined and you've enjoyed our shows and our special broadcast with myself and Donna tonight, well, I was only on half an hour, but still, we've got many other great shows. Donations are always greatly appreciated. We're here for no cost to you, so please find it in your heart to click the donate button at the top of many of the screens an Awakened Radio. It could be $1, it could be $5, whatever is appropriate for you. Now, as you're listening, this could be an opportunity, at least for the next hour, to slow down, to settle in, to find a moment of calm, and will make time and space to connect inward and settle into stillness. And gradually, this space can unfold into your outer life. And with that in mind, I invite you to take part in our weekly meditation. If you can't safely do this right now, continue to drive or walk or whatever it is that prevents you from being able to join us. Do it at another time if you can't safely join us. So bring a question to mind that you've been wondering about. You might light a candle. And as we're talking about body language tonight, I'm suggesting that you might ask how you carry yourself or how people perceive you, and allow for a sign or symbol to come to you during the meditation to see if there's something that is possibly hindering you, or maybe you can use the way in which you interact with others to be perceived in a new way. So allow for a phrase or a sound or a word or a symbol to come to you during the meditation that can help you with this. Find a quiet corner, quiet space, sit comfortably, and close your eyes. Begin to breathe slowly and gently, releasing any stress from the day, breathing gently into yourself and your heart, letting go of any doubts or worries. Continuing your breathing and letting your mind quiet and your body rest. Feel yourself filling with peace and tranquility, bringing your hands to your heart if you like, and wondering what it's been asking for. Allow your awareness of your heart to deepen as you breathe and continue to settle into the stillness. Feel all of your senses open, grow, and deepen, and know that this is a special place where you can clearly hear your own inner voice, however it speaks to you. Be mindful of how this space feels. You might now ask a question or notice any messages available to you within this space. Your inner ears might hear a word, a sound, or a phrase. Your inner eyes might see a shape, picture, or color. Your other senses might pick up a fragrance or a long-forgotten flavor. You might notice other sensations as well. Pay close attention to these. If you don't understand what they mean, ask for deeper clarity and allow whatever comes to you to come. But if nothing does, that's okay. Don't force anything to happen. Simply rest in the stillness and inner peace. This could be the very thing your heart has been yearning for. Notice how your body feels in this time of stillness, and continue to breathe into the parts of your body that feel tight or stressed, letting go of the tension there. Allow yourself to feel the comfort of this space and have gratitude for it. Know that you can come here at any time, but now, as we prepare to leave, have and feel gratitude for this connection and any messages you received, and slowly, gently bringing your focus back to the room. Now, I'm posting our intuitive challenge to the chat box tonight, and I'll also post it in the forum. If you click on it, you'll see the secret object for this evening, so don't click on it unless you want to know what it is. But it's another tool that I've included on many of my past shows and continue to do so. It's a way to work with your intuition and to try to intuitively determine what it might be. So you might enter into meditation and bring your hands to your heart if that's appropriate, and ask that your intuition show you what the object is. And as we're talking about body language tonight, maybe you'll be moved to act like this image, or to move in however this object might move. And you might try to explore it through movement, acting, or some other creative form of expression like painting or drawing to try to determine what it is. Intuition really is about you and what you perceive, so it's about definitely being present and being able to listen to what's happening, not only inside but the world around you. It's about slowing down, making time to connect inward on a regular basis, and to choose in each moment to make space to hear your inner voice and your inner wisdom, allowing yourself to step out of the static and noise and harshness of everyday life, and making the best choice for you to slow down and allowing your heart to guide you in each moment, and making time to be able to actually be yourself, accept yourself, have compassion. What that means is learning to be comfortable with yourself and your intuition and your instincts, letting go of perhaps the inner critical voice that says, this is silly. Certainly, of course, pay attention to how you feel, notice any body sensations, and ask yourself what they might be connected to. Keep a logbook to record your feelings, intuitive hits, deja vu, synchronicities. Don't dismiss anything, just record it, and over time you'll see how it plays out, and you'll be able to make your own intuitive book of meanings, because you'll have different events, different symbols and signs that come to you that represent certain things. Perhaps you'll see an eagle, and that might mean that a new opportunity is coming your way, for instance. Depends what your symbols are. A lot of people see numbers. They have different meanings for everyone. So pay close attention to the positive, negative emotions. Notice what keeps coming back, and find a way to work with that as well. And for particular events, you might ask, how do I feel about this event? What feelings does this event trigger within me? What emotional memories does this event connect to? And of course, keep logging it, journaling it, working with art and meditation. And if you're not getting anything, just pick up a pen and try writing down whatever comes to mind. Now, last week we talked about numerology and the life path. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat room, email me, or contact me on Twitter or Facebook. This week we're talking about body language and self-worth, our non-verbal language that communicates what's actually going on inside of us out to the world. What is this all about? Basically, the short of it is we believe what we see. So when, for instance, when someone is on the news and they're talking about, for instance, a CEO is on the news, he's talking about how good his company is doing, but you see him looking nervous, your inner perception, your intuition picks up on, well, maybe his company isn't doing as well as he's saying over the news, just because you notice his attitude, his mannerisms isn't in congruence with his words. And that's a lot about what the whole understanding body language and nonverbal communication is all about. Of course, there are cultural implications. So if someone has, for instance, a lowered head or lowered eyes, they're looking downward, it might mean one thing in Western cultures versus Eastern cultures, where these things can be a sign of respect. So they might look down, or they may lower their head as a show of respect, but not necessarily, depending in the West, depending on what country you're in and how you were culturally brought up. Now, various studies have been done on their nonverbal communication, and basically there's degrees of percentages that talk about how much people pay attention to this versus the verbal. So it might be 60% of our communication, or maybe 5 or 10% higher or lower, that represents our interpersonal communication. And one of the famous researchers is Albert Maharabian, and he developed the Maharabian rule, which is language sort of accounts for 55% of our communication, tone 38%, words 7%. So this has been misinterpreted, of course, in many ways, but he really did the research to show just how effective or ineffective the way in which we hold ourselves, our stance versus our words, really have an impact on the people listening to us, such as our CEO example. When you're saying we're doing really well, but your tie is untied and loose and you're looking stressed, people definitely have a harder time believing you and trusting you. And in poker, you have what we have called the tell. So you might be bidding and putting your chips all in, as they say, but if you're sweating, no one at the table is going to believe you necessarily that you're a good poker player or you know what you're bidding. So gestures can be more truthful than the words. So, for instance, if the police have someone in custody and they ask the person, where did your partner go? And he says they went left, and he looks right. He could gesture right. They could be immediately perceiving that he's not telling the truth. So this is all about really understanding facial expressions, touching, which is known as haptics, movement, posture, body adornment. So some people enjoy standing out, but you have to wonder and always be willing to ask what's underneath the need to stand out and to have heavy body adornment. So tone of voice, not the words themselves, and perhaps the breath as well, and what we wear and how we wear it. All important in understanding the non-verbal communication with the world around us. And I'll post the Wikipedia link to Albert Maharabian in my forum and in the chat. And in the chat, Colin mentions lots of communication from animals that is nonverbal, and body language galore with horses and donkeys. Yes, that's very important, and there's a whole world of animal communication with shamans and meditators who journey to the animals and talk with them there too. So in the outer world and then in the inner world, definitely lots of ways to communicate with the animals. Now, basically, as we're talking about this, it's important to understand the non-verbal elements convey a large amount, not necessarily the bulk of the message, but a large amount of your message. So to be aware how of your stance. Again, the words account for about 7% of your communication, and then the tone of voice accounts for a greater percentage. The research says 38, but that's not really what's important to understand. And body language accounts for about 55. So that's the 3 V's: verbal, vocal, visual. So just to notice that the words sort of the low end of the spectrum, and that's what's really important. Again, going back to the CEO example, his words, not so important. With the tone, so he might be saying, we're doing great, and then looking around, looking rather shifty, tie loose, suit missheveled, and perhaps his voice is cracking. So you know that's not necessarily the whole story. Or if you have someone that is in custody and he says, oh, everyone went left, and he looks right, then you kind of know he's being shifty. So all parts of the message have to be congruent. The verbal has to be in congruence with how they're holding themselves, their body language, and their tone of voice. So someone could be verbally saying, I don't have a problem with you, but looking down, looking away, or I'm fine, or I'm okay. And we all experience this from time to time when we get in an argument with someone and then you ask them how they are and they just say, I'm fine or I'm okay, and they look disgusted. So you know they're not fine and they're not okay. So it's definitely tapping in to your intuition to perceive them, and then you might gently ask, well, I see that you're struggling, you're not looking like you're fine. So just to notice what they do, what the person you're in communication with, how they're acting, how they're in relationship to you, and connecting with your heart and saying something from your heart, such as, well, I noticed that you don't look fine. How can I help you? And maybe it is that in that moment you can't. And it might take a little while for them to calm down and come back and be in a better relation with you. And going back to the eyes, there's an old folklore saying, of course, that says the eyes don't lie, or in the Bible, Luke has a passage that says your eye is the lamp of your body. English proverb that says the eyes are the window of the soul. And then there's the study of iridology, which studies the markings of the eye to learn more about the inner workings of the body, which you might like to research on your own. We're not going there tonight, but it's definitely an interesting field to explore. Now, the 7 to 38%, 55%, 3 Vs, as I was talking about before, that rule is often interpreted in a way that people claim that it's not true. It's just they're misinterpreting it, and the meaning of the message is always about the nonverbal cues, which is not necessarily the case. It's really understanding the cultural aspects of the person. So to have, especially for the police or anyone investigating any people, or if you want to know more about others, it's important to have a baseline. So if you really want to be a skilled communicator, to have a baseline for your audience and a baseline for yourself. This is really about having confidence when we're talking about it for ourselves, and stepping out of anxiety and worry and not communicating that out into the world. It's really learning to be solid within ourselves, and this is a tool that we can do that with. It's just not necessarily an obvious tool at first, but when we learn how other people perceive us, this can be very important to really learn about for ourselves. And Donna mentions in the chat room that within Taekwondo, children never look at the adults in the eye. Of course, it's a sign of respect, and that's a cultural sign of respect. And here, in the West, it's looked more as a sign of disrespect or uninterest, maybe boredom, maybe feeling nervous. So the guidelines here to pay attention to for body language: number one, you want to step back and observe the world. So to do that and to connect with your intuition and to intuitively sense how people are sensing you, and also, of course, notice their body language, and that's one way to really combine the two. Just to notice how they're looking at you, how they're perceiving you, how they're relating to you. And of course, understanding the context. So if someone is having issues, personal issues around stress or doubt or worry, they might not be giving you full eye contact as they normally would. So to understand that and to recognize universal patterns and behaviors. In Western countries, looking away, looking down is often a sign of nervousness, but not in other cultures where it's a sign of respect. And recognize idiosyncratic behaviors. So for one person, looking down might just be that he's shy. So to understand that for that person. And that's part of his or her baseline behavior. And if you're playing poker or simply trying to intuitively understand the deeper meaning behind this person and whether or not he's telling you the truth, to be able to watch for his or her tells or sequences of movements. So you might ask him a question and he might constantly look away before he answers, which could be a sign that he or she is creating a story as you're talking. Just to be aware of that. Notice changes in behavior and, of course, false nonverbal cues. They might be purposely trying to lead you away from connecting inward. So they might say they're fine and look at you and smile, but you notice it's wavering. Just to notice, so you know, be able to connect with how comfortable they look and feel to you and how discomfortable they look. And of course, this is all about subtlety and being aware of yourself and others. And Hiram Powers was an American sculptor, said, "The eye is the window of the soul, the mouth, the door, the intellect, the will are seen in the eye, the emotions, sensibilities, and affections in the mouth. The animals look for man's intentions right into his eyes. Even a rat, when you hunt him and bring him to bay, looks you in the eye." So just to notice how other things even relate to us non-verbally. Now we only have about 2 minutes till break. So if you have a question about this and how you might apply it to your life, you can call us after the break at 334-649-7204, or add Awakened Radio to your Skype, or of course, feel free to join us in the chat room. Now, we'll continue to talk about this after the break, but in general, when someone is remembering, they'll be looking up and to the right. That's for imagery. When they're remembering a sound, they might be looking immediately right. And if they're looking down and to the left, they might be remembering a feeling and a taste. But in general, for right-handed people, if they look to the left, that means they're constructing or imagining something. And we'll continue to talk about this when we get back.
Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at awakenedradio.net. Our broadcasts are brought to you in part by thebarefootguru.com, where you can discover the power of thrival in your life. Author, teacher, coach, and radio host Donna Devane invites you to create your dreams. Visit thebarefootguru.com today. At Awakened Radio Network, we bring you the how-to you've been asking about. Our hosts are top-notch teachers, authors, and life coaches who love sharing their messages with you, the listener. If you have a message you'd like to share on Awakened Radio, visit our website at awakenedradio.net. Look for the Services tab, then for Be a Host. At Awakened Radio to Skype to type Donna a message. Did you miss a broadcast? Check out Awaken Radio on iTunes. It's free to subscribe, download, and listen. The links to our archives are on our media page. Visit awakenradio.net. Look around the website. Loads of information about our radio station there. Also, we are adding archive links to our forums and to the host page. So there's no reason for you to ever miss a broadcast again. Visit us at awakenedradio.net and remember to check us out on iTunes.
Thank you for joining me, Rob Ragazine, here on my show, Your Unfolding Senses. Please feel free to join us in the chat room or call us here at Awakened Radio with your intuition or healing questions. Simply dial 334-649-7204 or add Awaken Radio to your Skype. And we're back. Now, going deeper into this nonverbal communication, the issue really for most people is that they suppress their emotions and their opinions and their feelings. They might feel that society is forcing them to follow certain rules and restrictions, or it might be cultural, or it might be family, whatever it is. All that stuff is shoved down and trying to be forgotten about. So that's why it's important to understand body language and intuition, as you can intuitively connect with how they're non-verbally communicating to you. And also to understand the shadow, because they're suppressing all this stuff. So you might not actively be in a real relationship with this person just because you're not seeing the true them. And the true them is mostly reflected in their body language. And the deeper understanding of them will help you to better interpret the unconscious signals that they're sending. And it's basically heavily used in politics, investigations, as I was talking about, and negotiations and direct communication between all kinds of people. So heavily used in negotiations and sales and, of course, police work. And really, if we apply it for ourselves, it's really about appearing more confident and stepping out of being anxious, afraid, and uncertain. Regardless of how you feel, you can step into a more confident feeling simply by taking a confidence pose, as we might call it. Now, you might look to the tarot. This might seem odd, but looking to the tarot for information about being confident, it's right there embedded in all of the cards. For instance, the Magician, which is the first major Arcana card, well, the Fool is 0, and Magician is number 1. And it's non-verbally communicating to us all about confidence. So if you look at the Magician card, he's pointing up and he's pointing down, basically saying as above, so below, and he's pointing down to nature, which is basically saying this is very important. It looks like he's concentrating and standing tall in his own power. He looks very confident. He's wearing a white robe with sort of a red, overcoat or whatever it is. I don't have the words for it. But if you're familiar with the basic tarot card, the Magician, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You can look at it on Google and it'll come up. So when you look at the Magician, you realize he can get his task done, and he has many tools, and he's studied, and he's taken his time. He's neatly dressed, he appears calm, and he's not anxious. Numerologically, this relates to number 1, about new starts, new beginnings, new ideas, not being stuck in the past, and moving forward. A lot about self-worth and self-acceptance, and very important for that. So you might use this card, if you're familiar with the tarot, to work with your confidence, to connect to that, and to meditate on it, and to learn what it might mean for you. This is my interpretation of the card, and of course you'll want to do your own interpretation, but it just goes to clearly show how anxiety and confidence and the nonverbal communication and body language are conveyed through the cards. Basically have words, but they do have people in particular positions and postures, so pay attention to those. It could be a definite way to get a better understanding of what the tarot means for you. And you can look at the other cards from the very same perspective, and you can still journey into and meditate on the cards, of course, and use them to work with your confidence and your anxiety, and to learn more about what you might need to appear more confident. So if you pulled the Magician when you asked, what do I need for greater self-confidence, and the Magician comes up, and that might simply mean to trust yourself and to really find the time and the persistence to work with the tools that are calling to you. And in the Magician card, he definitely has the tools, and he obviously looks skilled and is willing to take the time to learn how to appropriately work with his tools. So that could be part of your message. Now, working with body language, you'll be able to quickly and easily identify the state of mind, quote unquote, of the people you encounter and yourself throughout the day. So that's really about being more of an observer, not necessarily not talking, but being a better observer. So connecting inward to your heart and listening to what it might be saying about the people that you're communicating. Now, you might wonder, what are the typical signs that you might see if somebody is anxious? And as you've been an observer your whole life, some of these will be pretty obvious. So it might be finger tapping, they might be tapping on the table nervously, they might be chewing on their fingernails, so nail biting. That definitely shows that they're anxious, of course. But how much of the nail have they chewed on? So the longer they've been doing it and they're not even paying attention, that could be signs of serious anxiety. Shifting their position, they can't sit still, nervously tapping their feet on the floor, especially the heel. That definitely represents anxiety. Of course, we have sweating, hands in the pockets and shaking, or jingling keys or whatever's in your pockets more symbols and signs of anxiety. It's really about just noticing how they're interacting with you even when you're not talking and they're just across the room, especially then. Also signs of being inflexible, if they appear stiff or rigid, and difficulty when you are talking, finding the right words, perhaps with many different slips of the tongue. And when you watch a movie, and you can definitely see how this is conveyed out as it's exaggerated, especially in police dramas. Now, confidence really is played out and shown because you're better connected to your mental resources and you're less prone to errors and mistakes. And it's worth noting, as I've been talking about, that confident people, just by taking a stance that looks confident, the body position language, they portray that and then they step into that. So whenever you feel jittery or nervous, try to take a stance that appears confident. That can help you to definitely connect to your confidence and be willing to ask yourself, what do I need now in this moment to appear confident and to actually be confident? Perhaps it's that you're simply just being too busy. And for me, that's a big issue. It's about doing. And as I look at and observe the doing, I realize that everything doesn't necessarily need a solution. I can't help everyone, and often I'll try to just do something so that I can help them. But it's about stepping back and connecting and realizing that I wasn't connecting by trying to run around and do things for these people by being a doer. When someone might ask me, can you do this? Or I just might try to whatever it is, get involved in somehow so that I can help them to feel. They might appear, I'm looking at the body language and they might feel anxious or nervous, so I might try to take on some of their workload, for instance. But that really just keeps me disconnected from the person, out of relationship, rather than simply being with them and communicating with them and asking them how they feel and how I might truly be of service, for instance. I'm thinking about what I can do next versus what I can do right now. And then I've recognized in the past that gets me caught up in a cycle of, well, I tried to do something, it didn't help, how can I, and then it's an excuse to pull away. You might look at that for yourself when you feel pulled in to help someone, but then see where that takes you. So to look at that for yourself, this is part of looking at the activities that keep us out of confidence and more in anxiety. For instance, the person that we're observing or in relationship appears anxious or worried. So now what does that trigger within us? For me, that triggers the busyness. For you, that might trigger something else, might trigger worry within you. So to notice the patterns that the outer anxiety triggers in you, or whatever patterns, particular behaviors, or body communication triggers within you, and to notice how you can sidestep and not get caught up in those behaviors, to be more aware of your actions so that you can be not only a better communicator, you can be in more connected relationships. It's about having self-compassion for yourself and saying, I choose to not live in this manner anymore. It's really about noticing all of the ways in which you communicate yourself to the world non-verbally, and those actions are very, very important. So again, paying attention to any work that needs to be done in the realm of the shadow, being aware of your own emotions, and meditation, definitely tools that can help us here as we try to ultimately be in better relationship with everyone we come in contact with, and not be triggered by however they're acting and or emoting. It's simply being in relationship with them regardless of the quality of the communication. And I was just reading today about an interesting research being done in Oxford with 500 children who were taught meditation. Well, half of them were taught meditation and half weren't, but the outcome was that they found that the children who meditated for a 3-month span had better grades and less depressive symptoms. So they were happier and they were doing better in school, which is very important. So now they can be in better relationship with their parents, with their families, and everyone else. And I'll post a link to that again in the forum and in the chat room. And you might also, as I was talking about before, begin to work with the tarot and numerology to learn more about yourself. So simply every day you might pull a card, or once a week, and to ask for guidance about how you might be in better, step into more confidence and step into better relationships with people. So don't use any tool really to blame yourself or to blame others or to step out of relationship with them, but to look at how it is that you can be really in better relationship. It's not about labeling, it's not about stepping away unless you feel like you're in immediate harm. It's more about how you can better connect, and the tarot cards can definitely reflect what's going on internally and offer you guidance on how to better step out into the world and appear more confident. And the magician might reflect that it's time to step into some of your own studies. That might be another interpretation of the card. And definitely find avenues for outer expression. When we're repressing ourselves and not expressing ourselves, then we're contributing to all kinds of emotional issues and the buildup of our shadows. So it's really important to believe in yourself and find a way to express what's inside and to not be dismissive of where your heart is leading you. So if your heart's leading you to sing, it doesn't matter if you sing in the shower or sing at Carnegie Hall. It's time to find songs to sing, whether that's writing them yourself or just singing along with the radio. And if that's what brings you joy, to do that more in your life, and thusly you'll step into greater confidence. Whatever it takes to do that. And we'll do an exercise. We have some time for that. Or I can just talk about it. Thich Nhat Hanh had an excellent exercise to let go of some stress that I'm borrowing. So he's talking about standing up and your feet are hip width apart. And you'll slowly, if you're able, you can do this. But if you don't feel like you can do this, don't try it at home. You can bring your arms up over your head and try to stretch as much as you can. Now your body will be communicating to you areas of tension and areas of stress. This isn't about pushing through those, it's about noticing if it is. And as you're reaching up and stretching towards the sky, breathing out and breathing in and releasing any tension or stress or worry that you might have in holding that position for a few seconds, not longer than it's painful, when just to do it for a few seconds, and then bringing your arms back down, and if you're able, reaching towards the ground, bending at your waist, again stretching and releasing and coming back up, and repeating this a few times, but being cognizant of how your body feels and is communicating with you. So the body language is not always everyone out there, it's you in here, and paying attention. Oh, you might say, oh, my arm hurts, I really should stop lifting so much, or find a better way to lift weights. Perhaps it's time to work more with machines, or whatever it is that's causing tension. Maybe you might notice tension in your stomach. Maybe it might be time to change the foods that you're eating. Oh, my toes are a little painful, to notice that your shoes are too tight. Whatever it is, notice how your body is communicating to you, and this exercise might help you to do that, simply because you're stretching and now you're communicating with your muscles and all your cells in your body about it's time to move. What doesn't want to move? And ask that question. What doesn't feel like it can move right now? What feels like it's easily moving? What needs a little help? And how can I assist it? And this can really help you to listen to your own body. And it's simple, and it doesn't have to take an hour. It can take 5 minutes. Definitely clearing and very helpful in learning more about what your body is already communicating to you that you might be dismissing or haven't heard yet. So pay attention and really find a way to work with it in your life, and just to work with it and find a way to truly listen. It's really about familiarizing yourself with how your body is communicating, and if it's communicating stress, it's detracting from your confidence and your self-worth and adding to your anxiety. And again, meditation and shadow work and having compassion for yourself can definitely help you to begin to let go of some of your anxiety and step more into a better space to communicate with yourself. Now, meditation can also be a great way to communicate with your body, because you'll be sitting still and you'll notice things that come up, like thoughts or emotions, and then you'll get pulled into a cycle of repeated thoughts. And what I always tell people is to just say, I'm noticing a thought, or you can shorten that to thought and then let it go and go back to meditation. And maybe you keep your stomach growls or your foot falls asleep. You can just notice it and say something like, foot asleep, to yourself. Maybe shake the foot, maybe leave it be. But just to work with meditation, again, to connect inward and to notice the signals that your body and your mind are already bringing to you. And of course, it takes practice, and with practice, you'll eventually get better at it. And it should be part, or doesn't have to be part, but it works best when you get more practice with it, what was it? The book Outliers talks about how we become experts after we have 10,000 hours of experience with something, by Malcolm Gladwell. So, with not saying you'll be Deepak Chopra, but the more experience you get, the better at it you'll get, and it helps to have a daily routine around it. And discipline definitely helps, so find a way to incorporate it into your life. Now, I hope what we've been talking about tonight has helped you to learn more about the ways in which you're perceived by others and how you can start to perceive them in a more clear and concise way. If you have any questions, please feel free to connect with me on Twitter or through email or Facebook. You can go to my site, intuitionbyrob.net, and click on my media tab to connect with me here at Awakened Radio. My forum page link is there, and the Awakened Radio store is there, and as well as my Twitter and Facebook links. So everything is right there for you to connect with me on a deeper level. Now, we also have here at Awakened Radio an opportunity to sponsor various shows, including this show. Basically, you provide us with a 30-second spot with a name of your business, a description, website, and phone number, and we record it for your show, for your sponsorship, and place it at the start, at the middle, and at the end of the show that you're sponsoring. And it'll be played 3 times, and it'll also be played once it gets into the archives, it stays in the show, so it'll be played forever, as long as iTunes is still around. So feel free to, if you'd like to have a business that's appropriate for Awakened Radio, feel free to join us as a sponsor. We just published our 2nd issue of Thrive Magazine, which you can find here at Awaken Radio. There's a big tab for it at the top of the screen, and you can contribute next month's issue. The deadline is July 10th. Articles, art, poetry. This month I think I contributed a juice recipe, so you can read that and energize yourself. It's an apple, carrot, ginger juice, I think. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you have any questions again for tonight's show, please feel free to contact me via email. Please join me again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern, on Awakened Radio. You can stay tuned for Chris's show, Farm Girl by 40, which is next. And thank you again for joining me, and please feel free, and you're very welcome to communicate with me on Twitter or Facebook at Rob Ragazine on Facebook, and the show page, Your Unfolding Senses, is also on Facebook. So come on over there, like the page, post articles all about intuition and connecting inward and with yourself. So please feel free to join me there. And thank you again for joining me. I'll see you again next week.
Awakened Radio, your listener-supported online global radio station, where we all come together to share the love and the energy of change that we know ourselves to be. Thank you so much for clicking on our love gift and donate buttons throughout the website. Your support is very appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing and making real your love and your appreciation for what all the hosts at Awakened Radio are doing. This is Donna Devane, station owner, saying we really appreciate your help.